Okay. Are we live? I think we're live. Oh, it's really loud. All right, cool. We're live here, everybody. What's up? What's up? Play a little music in the background. Hey. Oh, what? What? Oh, what? Oh. Who is familiar with the group called Sounds of Blackness? Hey, hey. Hey, hey, we're going to start it off. We're going to get cracking tonight. This is the Sounds of Blackness. Be Optimistic. It's the name of the song. So look it up if you never heard it. Hey, everybody. Super excited to be taking over Listen for a Change's account tonight. This is your girl, Ayasha. I'm going to be with you guys tonight. And as you know, it's our Insta Live story. We're going to have an awesome, amazing, phenomenal guest with us tonight, sharing her story. What's up, James? I see you. Okay, Ty, you feeling the track? Okay. But in any case, so super excited. Our guest for tonight, Miss Vogue Robinson, is going to be sharing her story, a little bit of poetry. We're going to be having some conversation. It's going to just be a very uplifting, dope event. So, or more so experience, because is this like an event? I don't know what to call it. This is my first time too doing an Instagram live. So, be a little patient with me as we go through the process. How are you guys feeling though? Feeling good? Feeling great? Okay. Hold on. I think Vogue's trying to join us. Let's see this real quick. Let's see. Go. I think she's coming. We're waiting. Hey. Connected. Oh, yes. We're taking over for sure. Just waiting for her to connect. Oh, hey. Oh. And we got Vogue up in here, you guys. Hold on. Let me switch up the song so we can get like the right type of intro for this.
You're so funny.
We got to do it right.
No, you was hosted.
DJ don't even trip on the pause and play real quick. Hold on. Let's get a little music for you real quick, Vogue. Let's see. We were just talking about this one. How you feeling tonight?
Hi, Janice. All my fam. All my humans.
Oh, they're coming to support you.
Hi. Janice is in the Bay also.
Oh, okay. I remember Janice. She came over to the house.
Yeah, I was going to say, you met Janice. Yeah.
What's up, Janice? Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Awesome.
Right. Hi, Adriana. Hi, Nicole. Hi,
Nicole's
James.
here too?
Yeah.
Oh,
hearts.
Yeah.
This is weird. I was like, I watched like 2 or 3. Hi, Paul. And been like, oh, these little hearts. What up, Bree? Look, on time. First lady Bree.
We got our old people up in here. Hey.
Right.
I got your song on for you though, Vogue.
Oh my God. My brother is in here. I sent him a text, but I'd be like, I expect him to be like, I don't know what I expect him to do, but Jesus Christ. Hi.
Oh man. Yes.
Like they'll do me like that.
To all the people, family, cousins, friends who are joining us this evening. Got your song playing for you in the background, Vogue.
Jamming. It's so funny. We can call him Joseph Yinka.
Oh man.
But yeah, he checks me on like how I don't call people by their name. I'm like, my brother, my sister, my, I don't be like Joseph. Joseph, that's Yinka. Yinka, that's Joseph.
Yes, community is coming through. What's up, cuz?
Oh, Sharice, I remember her. She's in Chi-Town.
She's in Wisconsin.
Right? Oh, she's in Wisconsin now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We celebrated her birthday or something. What up, Joe? I see you. Look at that light-skinned hand. Look at that.
That's the light-skinned hand? I didn't know that. I didn't know.
I said that for him.
I didn't know we were colorizing hands on social media. Emojis are getting colorized too. Okay.
They've been colored and they better be.
Man.
Representation matters.
Super excited, Vogue, that you're joining us tonight. Is this your first time doing an Insta Live type of thing?
Girl, I hate live. I hate video in general. I hate it all. It stresses me out.
It's super awkward. It is. That's why we're trying to play a little music, trying to set the tone or whatever. So
there's juice in my cup.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what's in my cup. Just know there's something.
I knew it was some grown shit. I knew it. What up, Echo?
Yes. It's after 5 o'clock, so I can do that. I worked hard. Anyway. But yes, for those
Super
who are
excited.
tuning in, those who have already been
Good.
supporters of Listen for
Yes,
a Change,
Lord.
those who are tuning in for the first time, thanks for joining us this evening. Listen for a Change is an organization that is committed through and through to sharing the stories of unheard voices. So we are just all about bringing community together, bringing connection, and just creating a space for people to share their truth. And so typically before, the COVID happened, AKA the Rona,
The
whatever you
Rona.
want to call it, the Rona came.
Ronita. If you
Ronita
nasty.
came. And she's here. It's okay. Anyway, let me stop. Before COVID, we used to host live story hours where people in the community would come. We'd have like 3 different storytellers. They would tell a personal story. They would connect it to an issue in society. And then they would also highlight a nonprofit or organization for people to rally and get behind. So obviously during the time of social distancing, we can't do that for now, but we're getting innovative. We're still going forward and we're doing Insta live storytelling. So we're doing the same format, just, in a different kind of way.
Remix.
Just a remix, switching it up a little bit. How we do. I miss the remix. I do. I miss it.
Right. I was talking about that the other day. I was like, where is the remix? Like low key Diddy. Go ahead and just do it.
Come back.
Remix
Come back.
Everything.
But yeah, so we're doing our own
Namsa's here. Hi, Namsa.
Hey,
Hi, Ryan.
all right, I love this. But we're doing our own remix of live story hours through the Instagram cracker. So thanks for joining us. As I said, my name is Ayasha Tripp. I'm a writer, educator, creative activist. I'm a story coach for the organization, as well as a board member in our Oakland MC. So I will be our host tonight. But I feel like Vogue, you're like my co-host because the way we work, it's not even really like that type of situation. You know what I mean?
So I'm Vogue Robinson.
Yeah.
I just finished my term as poet laureate at Clark County. I feel like we're just gonna co-host it.
Well,
What's
hold
good?
On, I need
you gonna
to
do
introduce you though. Let me show some respect to your name. You know what I mean?
I got a mic right here.
But yes,
do it.
Our guest / co-host, who is not only one of my closest friends, but a sister. She is a wife, an auntie, a godmom, a friend, a lover, a poet, the past poets laureate of Clark County in Las Vegas, Nevada. She is a published author, phenomenal woman indeed. To join us tonight, Miss Vogue Martine Robinson. Clap it up in your
whole name, my whole government name in the street.
Government name. Clap it up for her. She is going to bless us. You heard of like Ayanla Get Your Life? There's Vogue. No, there's Alania Fix Your Life. There's Vogue Get Your Life. Vogue will help you get your life together. She helps me get my life all the time.
We'll make a list.
So yes,
we'll make it do what it do.
For tonight, the way it's going to work is we're going to do a little different with our little remix. Vogue's going to offer us a little bit of, she's going to offer us a poem. And then after she states her poem, she's going to offer the story behind the poem. And then from there, we're going to have a conversation around what led to it. And we're also going to connect it to what's going on right now in our current country. The theme for tonight is it's called Creating in Times of Grief. I think it's important that we name that, as we know, with the death of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and all other Black lives, we're in a state of grief right now. People have been grieving the loss of their jobs. People have been grieving connection with people face to face. People have been grieving Black lives. And so we're going to talk about that grief. We're going to talk about what does it do to people when there's such a sense of despair, loss, hopelessness, frustration, and anger, when you're over consumed and overwhelmed with so much grief. How do you still create in that time? And we're going to have that conversation, and we're going to motivate you guys and inspire you guys to recognize that in times of loss, you still have something to hold on to and you still have something to create. So I'm super excited because Vogue over here, I'm just going to throw it over to her. I'm going to pass her the imaginary baton. And she's going to, just bless us with her poem. Is there anything you want to state though before we get started?
Nah, man, you crucial. You with it. You check them boxes, Virgo. Get you a Virgo friend.
That Virgo and Pisces is real. That Virgo Pisces connection.
Hi, Auntie. So yes, the poem. This is like the fancy version of the poem, and I'll post it on my Instagram after this discussion. But I'm just gonna read and get into it. It's called Duplex 5519. Duplex being the type of poem that it is. It's actually a form, and I typically do not write in form. And then 5519 is literally just the day I wrote it, which was May 5th, 2019, about 2 months after my grandmother passed away, and it was the first thing that I gave myself permission to write. So I'm just going to read it and then we'll talk about it. Ooh, baby Jesus.
You got this, girl.
Friendship. Duplex 5519. My grandmother is dead. I am no one's baby. I am no one's baby. There is no pillow to land on. No pillow to land on when the bow breaks. Who was the cradle mounted on rockers? I am without a cradle, a ship over-constructed. Girl, why weep over construction? Where will I get rest? How will I be repaired? Woman, do not sink in the cost of unnecessary repairs. Do breathe. Cool the coals in your throat. Saying it aloud stokes the coals in your throat. My grandma is dead.
Mm.
Thank you. That's that poem.
You know, it's like after you share that, this makes me kind of recognize how, like, even though it's me and you, there's other people who are like responding too. So feel free, people, to put your thoughts and feelings into the chat and know that we're feeling it the best way we can digitally. I appreciate that, Vogue. And I know you're going to lead into the actual story. So I'll just hand that back over to you to kind of, you know, elaborate a little bit more around what led to the creation of this poem, as well as like what is the story about you and your grandmother and the grief behind that.
Yeah, thank you. So I laugh when we talk about it, but in our circle of friends, Aisha and I, our circle of friends, they call me Guppy because I'm the youngest in the group. And so it's Guppy this and Gups that. But I'm also like one of the ones that is very cautious and very like, if you fall, I'm gonna snatch you up and pick you up. If you feel a little drunk, I'm like, why are you so drunk? I'll drive you home. Or I just kind of have a very like responsible spirit. And how are you the youngest? You're the Guppy, but you're also Mama Vogue. How are you both things at the same time? And a lot of that has to do with the fact that my grandmother raised me. My grandmother was 66 when I was born. And she ended up living her last 60 days in my husband and I in our home. And I had always planned on taking care of her. It had always been my idea that I would have a home with the elevator. And grandma could go up and down the elevator in my 2-story house and she could live with me. And that was what was realistic to me as a kid. I was like, no matter what, I'm gonna take care of her. And I grew up and found out you can't really put an elevator in your house or we're not falling like that. But AJ, my husband, was totally on board with like, okay, when the time comes, your grandmother can live with us. Yeah, we'll get a house that has enough rooms for her to live here. It wasn't my intention for her to die in my home. I didn't plan for her to die in my home. I just planned to take care of her when she couldn't take care of herself. And I've spent a lot of my life on a mission to make her proud. And when I was going to college, I started as a math major, and she was like, oh, you want to be a math major? You want to teach math? Vogue, you're a writer. And I was like, yeah, but you know, I be talking, I be explaining things. She's like, Vogue, you're a writer. So, but go ahead and major in whatever you want to. I support you. I love you. So when the time came, and clearly I switched my major and switched my directions in life, it's really clear that I'm a writer and that she was always very proud of me. And in her last 60 days when I was taking care of her in our home, 3 things happened that really brought the poem forward for me. So one of the conversations we had, I was changing her diaper and just shifting her body, because when you have somebody in your home that's in your care, after a while, if they don't move as much, then you're responsible for moving their bodies so that they don't get bed sores. So I was doing that and moving my grandmother's 91-pound body and putting pillows underneath it to make sure that she was fully supported, doing things that she did for me. And there was a day she decided she was going to get up and walk to the bathroom. And she made it to the bathroom, but she didn't make it back. AJ saw her, my husband, saw her in the hallway and was like, Grandma, what you doing? And like walked up to her. And as soon as he was holding her hand, she stopped being able to support her own body. And so with one arm, you know, he figured out a way to call me, and the other arm, he was standing there holding my grandmother, waiting for me to get home. And I got home and we helped her get back into the bed. And so then it was clear that she needed consistent care. So we paid for caregivers to be in our home consistently. And it was like, wow, I have to get somebody to watch my grandma. Weird. I had to get a babysitter for my grandmother. And it had to be somebody she liked, because she didn't like everybody. So we had to interview.
I don't know her either.
I don't know her either.
So
she's like, okay, you know, like people she frowned up didn't like, I had to switch and switch and switch. So we found good caregivers. We found caregivers that she liked, that she felt like respected her. And I found myself every time a caregiver came in giving them a list of things to do, how to take care of my grandmother. What is her name? Her name is Martina Carpenter. She's from Kansas. She spent most of her life being a teacher. She didn't, she doesn't want to be coddled. She really didn't want to be in diapers, but she's here and she's present, but she's strong and she's proud in many ways. And if you want for her to like you and you want her to talk to you, then ask her about her students, ask her about her grandchildren, read her poetry. Those are the ways that you get close to Martina Carpenter. And so those are the things. The second thing that happened was there was a morning where I'd come in to check on her, and I was learning how to make her oatmeal, because she likes her oatmeal a particular way, with a certain amount of milk and a certain amount of brown sugar, and we don't do instant around this camp. So I had to learn how to make her oatmeal the way she wanted. Right? Ty, I see you. I see you, Joelle. I see you, Bree. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make her oatmeal the way she wants it. So I would get up and do that. And I'm not a morning person. You know, I don't do before 10 a.m. Don't call me. I was up at 7. I hate you for it. I hate you for getting that early in the morning. I get up at 7 because that's what time she got up, and figure out how to be present enough to like change her, talk to her a little bit, and give her her food and keep her on her own personal routine, because I didn't want to disrupt her life.
Yeah.
And she goes, you know, Vogue, I know why you don't have any children, because I've been adamant about you want great grandbabies and you pay for them. And she goes, it's fine. You know, Candace has the kids. My sister Candace has 3 daughters. So I was like, Candace has the kids. She says, Candace has the kids because you have me. You used to be my baby. I used to call you my big baby, but now I'm yours. And it was a shift, because if I'm her baby, we've shifted now to where she's saying that she is mine. That's a lot of responsibility. But I also been mentally preparing for years to do that. But it was deep to hear her say. So then the third thing that happened was that there was a morning I had on a different kind of outfit. I had done my hair. Hey, Jess. I had done my hair and like put on a dress or whatever. And she came, I walked into her room. I was like, morning, Grandma, and got her some stuff. And she was like, oh, that's an interesting dress, which is code for that's ugly. Like, just call it ugly. Just call it ugly, but whatever. she was like, she called it interesting. She goes, well, that's an interesting dress. She goes, no. She said, that's an interesting dress. Where are you going? So I'm going to my other job. She goes, oh, you have a different job, but what all do you do? And I go, I teach. What do you teach? Well, I'm like, okay. So I realized she doesn't know who I am in this moment. She thinks I'm a different caregiver, because we got caregivers. And she thinks I'm one of her caregivers. And she doesn't know that it's Vogue. And instead of having this long argument with her about who I am and don't you remember me and making it about me, I just said, I teach poetry. You teach poetry? Well, do you know Vogue Robinson? That's my granddaughter. She's a poet. You should know her work. And like low-key banged on me about knowing who I was. And I swelled. And I'm still full of this moment that I know for certain that my grandmother is proud of me, that my grandmother reps me in the streets to strangers and people she knows. And I know she used to carry my book in her purse. But for me, it was also like achievement unlocked. Because if I've spent my life, and I'm only in my 30s, I've spent my life trying to make her proud. And it's very clear that I have done that. I have permission to live my life however else I want to live it. I have the capacity to do more things that I never dreamed of, that I haven't even discussed with her that I want to do with and for myself. But I don't ever have to wonder if my grandmother was proud of me because she thought that I was somebody else and was like, do you know these poems from this baby right her? Kind of thing. And of course, that's my translation of it. And so in the poem, I talk about, girl, why weep over construction? You know, that I have had to rebuild my life in a way and shift my focus. And even in this room right now, the room that I'm in, this is the room she died in. And this whole, during the quarantine, the self-quarantine, the shelter in place, my cousin Lydia has been making me turn this room into something more so that it's a space of love and honoring her, and also like repping myself, telling myself like, she's proud of you, but now when I leave somewhere and I get something and I don't have it to hand her and say, Grandma, be proud of me, I brought you this thing, this accomplishment, I have to learn how to be proud of myself. I have to construct myself again. And so that's the like, why weep over construction? Like, I just want to hand my grandma this book that my work is published in. I just want to hand my grandma this poem that was up in a museum. I want to hand her all these things and tell her all these things that I've done. And it's like, you got to learn how to tell yourself and be proud of yourself for what you did. And that's where the construction comes from. Like, I spent a lot of time constructing myself, but then I also have to now do new construction on who I am and what kind of woman that I am. But it still hurts to have to say aloud that she's gone. But it has to be true for me to become the next version of myself. And she has to be ancestor now for me to become the next version of myself. Her energy has to be in a different place, in a different time, doing different things, so that I can do and be me in different places, doing different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Woo. Girl.
So we out here. And I have a permission slip to just be me. All I really ever had to be was me. And give it to my personal gifts.
I love that, Vogue, because I've been taking notes. As you know, I take notes. I write notes and notes. And I wrote down, like, she knew who you were before you did, in terms of, like, you're a writer. When you were opening up the story around, like, oh, I'm going to teach math. And she saw you for who you were. And connecting that to this, you know, idea of you explaining around, I'm going to do this. I want to make her proud, when essentially she always just loves you already for everything that you were and who you are. And as we were talking about prior to this, love, as we know, isn't what we do, it's who we are. And she not only told you, but she showed you that unconditional love. And that's just beautiful. And I love that. Like, and you see all of your greatness as well as just like her greatness in you, you know? And so I'm really curious though for you to kind of go a little bit deeper with you unpacking that, because also I saw in the comments, and what I love about this story and this poem is I wish we were all together, because I see the people in the comments.
Right, I know, it's like this is the littest crowd ever. You guys are
yeah, and I'm pretty sure, you know, there are people right now. Like, I would like for everybody to think about somebody right now. Like, if you have that grandparent, or if you have that parent, or if you have that person in your life, whoever it is, who saw you for who you were and loved on you, and maybe now they're gone, it's good to reflect and bring them into the space. And so I'm just curious to know, like, for you, when it's somebody that important in your life who loved you and cared about you, how did you work through that grief and processing that? Like, what did you, I know you kind of talked about your nieces, you and I did, I'm bringing that up. Did you talk about how you process your grief?
Absolutely. Well, first I was mean I was like a very mean person, like next level smart mouth, and probably like not wonderful to be around. Like I'm a very direct person, but my directness can also be really sharp. So first I was mean, and I had to get through like a lot of anger, and I still have it there, but I've been just doing work to try to transform it. And this poem was the first step because it is because it's a poem that's a form, so it had to be written in couplets. And it had to have a certain amount of repetition. And it was a class that Frank Johnson, shout out to Frank, if you follow him, Frank the Poet, THA. So Frank the Poet, follow him. But he taught a class on Jericho Brown's form, which is the duplex. And it's kind of a hybrid of multiple forms. And it's a new form invented by a Black man. And it lent itself to my grief, and it gave it to where I didn't have to write a grip of stuff, but I couldn't waste words and I couldn't put in extra stuff just for fluff. It wasn't no fluff in the piece. And that was the first step. The second step for it was to just know that I had to step outside of my comfort zone. So writing in a form is way out of my comfort zone. I hate writing in form. It stresses me out. Don't tell me what to do. I write my poems. I made this up. Take it as it is. But writing in a form pushed me into a different direction. And it was almost like a game, but also a place where I could be fearless because it was my first time trying that form. And the other ways that I decided I was going to work through my grief was to do random arts and crafts with my nieces, to keep her alive in both word, in photo, and also in action. And so the actions were, Christmas, we're making these cookies that grandma used to make. I tell Angel, which is the oldest niece, like, oh, you know who else wore glasses? She's like, grandma wore glasses, TT. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm just trying to make sure you don't forget. And she's like, she loved your glasses, because my niece tries to not wear her glasses. We've been doing stuff with yarn. So yeah, yarn. Did homemade Play-Doh. We make necklaces and bracelets. This room, I have like the scissors. I have like a 10-piece set of scissors that have like different edges. So we can make different art in that way as well. And they really love drawing. So they come over and they know immediately, oh, we're at TT's house. We're about to do some random art shit. I don't know what's going to be, but TT about to make us do some art shit. And so they end up looking forward to it. Like the next time I see them, we're going to plant some seeds in some cups, and I'm going to let them start their own herb garden. So I'm not playing with them. They're going to learn. And
they're going to learn.
Yes, they're going to learn. I wish that I could give them pieces of mine and Candace's, my older sister, our childhood, and how we were always just encouraged to like grow, explore, do stuff you love. Here goes some books, and here's some paint, and just paint some things. And I want them to feel that way, that there's multiple mediums that they can work in. And I think that's like the biggest, like that was the biggest healing element, was just like to not let her die here. Like to not let her die here. And to have it be that she transcends planes at all times, and be it through me, be it through the girls, be it however the ways we gonna get it, we're gonna bring Martina in the building, so be it. And so it's gardening, it's writing, it's drawing, and going into an art element that wasn't mine. Like when I started kind of drawing and scribbling on paper, I drew a horse the other day because I wanted to make them pin the horn on the unicorn. So I started practicing drawing a horse, and the first one was okay, the second one was the third one was better. And that meditation of drawing the same horse 3 times was cathartic for me, because I thought about my grandma and the things that she drew for us, the beanbag mouth thing she made for us so we could throw a beanbag through the mouth of this thing, but like all the things she made so that we would have games out of nothing. And maracas, this beans inside of a plastic bottle, you'd be like, shit, this is an instrument, like that everything could be something else. But yeah, I feel like that's really like the biggest way how I processed it, was just like giving myself permission to mess up and to try new art forms, to express myself, and to not just depend on the pen.
The
And if I
pen.
was going to depend on the pen, then I had to depend on the pen in a new way. I had to respect the form and go in a different direction to find my way back into and through myself. And
Mm.
next level bitch, next level version of myself.
Next level, level up.
Sip,
Yes. Sip,
sip.
Ladybug, love it. Oh, girl, you were dropping major keys, a lot of gems of truth in there. I was so two things, right, that you brought up that I think connect to where we are currently at within society, right? You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned how you had to come out of your comfort zone, and you also talked about not letting your grandmother, like, her memory die when you were talking about ways that you work through your grief. And so when we think about where we are right now, right, like we mentioned at the top of this, people are grieving. And even just like going through the comments, there's people who are live with us right now who have gone through similar loss of a grandparent, of a parent. We've all been there. And we're all there right now with this sense of loss, right? And so when we think about pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, and when we think about not letting the memories of our loved ones die, what do you feel like people can do at this time in history to find ways to still create whatever that may look like for them? Because it's going to look different. Some people are going to
Right.
want to create policy. Some people are going to want to create some
Yes.
protests. Some people are going to create some poems, some plays,
Right.
some music. There's no one way to do it. You know,
Right.
like we are all one body, like they mentioned in the Bible, in terms of just like, remember I said to you, like the eye can't get mad at the nose for breathing and the nose can't get mad at the eye for seeing. We all
For
have our
seeing,
part. We
smelling.
are all one
Mm-hmm.
collective. And
Right.
so what do you think in this time that you can like share with people to think about getting out of their comfort zone and not letting the memories of their ancestors die, but to push us forward to create something new out of this grief that we're in? If that makes sense. I know
Right.
I said a lot.
That's enough. uh, I feel like definitely, that American history is already such garbage. It's a garbage ass country. Like they be trying, but
This is America.
if you look historically at the way that this country was built, um, that so many of us were even disconnected from that history of how our people got here, whether it be people who immigrated, of their own will, or people who immigrated, or people who were just taken and brought
Yes.
here. That it's so hard to draw those lines, but I feel like this country doesn't tell its story in full truth
Yes,
and
please.
glosses over a lot of it. And I think then it becomes our job. So like right now, like you have Langston Hughes in your behind you, and like having that image of Langston Hughes and reading through Langston's work through the 60s, but he was born like in like 1930 something, I think.
Before
Um,
that,
that his work, it might be 1902. I just posted
yeah,
about him,
he was during the
but
Harlem Renaissance.
his work is still relevant from then to now. So
That
there are
part.
changes that have been made in policy and procedure, and then we have more rights. Like I own a home and I am married to a white man, and that was not legal in 1965. 1965, it wasn't legal. So I think we owe ourselves to imagine a beautiful future, but also to retell the past so that we don't forget, and so that we stay fully connected,
Yeah.
and that people's deaths are not in vain, so that we don't have to keep explaining to people, oh well, why are they rioting? Because it's the only thing that works historically speaking, just historically speaking, and it's not rioting, it's protesting, and it's exercising our rights. Same way you got the rights to carry, here are other rights that we have
Facts.
to fight through. That's my brother, girl.
Facts. I feel you. Facts. These
So
are the
what
facts.
are all of our rights? Um, yeah, I just feel like, amnesia ain't doing nobody no good. And the more that we discuss the past and show that history, but then also move towards a future that is different, and to really name it. Like lately I've been trying to figure out, like, what do I want? Like if I'm protesting, what are the things I want, and where are the places where I feel like this nation needs to change. and what are our police officers doing, and just what is the history of the police officers? What's the history of the police being created in this country? Um,
Yeah.
we have to look at it. And I think that there are a lot of people who aren't or don't want to. And I think some people are grieving their comfort of
I was
thinking
gonna
that
say that it
everyone
goes
is
to the
free,
comfort. It goes to the
right? Like
comfort.
you grieving your comfort of being comfortable here and thinking like, oh, well, no, everybody's equal, right? I just see the episode of Fresh Prince where like they're sitting and Carlton is like, they didn't pull us over just because we were black,
Did
did
they?
they?
And they
And the
did.
episode ends. And that's
Right?
from the 90s. So
It's like shaking up people's reality.
yeah. But it's like it needs to just always be shook. Like everywhere should just feel like California. And you should just always feel like it's an earthquake. You should always sense that there's an earthquake, there's a rumble in this world because everyone is not safe. Everyone does not have the same different types of just rights. Everyone cannot take on all the same roles.
Mm.
It's not true.
Yeah.
And the sooner we tell the truth into power, like tell the truth, acknowledge it. Don't sit around here. Oh, look, Drew Brees. Stop it,
Right. I
Jonathan.
know.
Stop starting stuff.
God,
Bless his
Lord.
whole little heart.
Yeah. That's a whole other conversation.
Right. But basically, if we tell the truth, if we keep a better level of like accuracy of this shit, and then show those links to what this world is looking like and how it can change.
Sorry.
And
You
like,
said shame the
there's so
devil.
much work that's been done. Like, there's so much work that's been done. I think about Nicole and like that she's teaching at universities and talking and creating dialogue and teaching people about privilege, race, class, and culture. We have to continue to talk about it. We have to continue to call it out and tell the truth about it. And then we also have to continue to fight. And when something is wrong, to just say it. Like, people are afraid to say Black Lives Matter. And it's also one of those things where it's like, but they do.
Well, that's
Stop
the whole
murdering Black people, because they do keep murdering us. It's murder. Call it murder. These riots are so bad. But I need you today to say that murder is terrible, that knees don't belong on the back of people's necks, that that's not what a peace officer is supposed to do. And that's truth. So you can mourn the building, but don't forget the person.
You can
The person
replace
is
the
gone.
building. You can
Right.
replace the building. You can't replace the person.
And it's not like Black folk woke up yesterday and was like, I'm gonna burn a building today.
No, but it's like
Fuck Target. Didn't nobody wake up and just, I'm gonna burn a Target down for no fucking reason.
But you're so spot on, Vogue, around the history and around the fact that we don't acknowledge things for what it is. And also like that balance of like our pain, our struggle and our trauma, but also our greatness. Because the thing that I feel like Black people, we are more than problems, causes, and victims. That is one part of our narrative. But like what you mentioned, they don't talk about what it was before we were brought over here, or what it was even when we got here, went through what we went through, and still had to rise up. So we are a holistic mixture of everything. And that history, that story, that needs to be told. And we can
It
create
needs to
that.
be seen as human beings.
That, that
That
part.
they spend time dehumanizing us.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's intentional.
it's hard. It's hard to look that directly in the eye and say directly like, yo, you must not see this person as human.
No, of course not. Of course
You
not.
can't have possibly think of him and see a person who is like your brother, your cousin.
Oh, that's
You
removed.
can't, because if you did, then you wouldn't treat them in this way, and you wouldn't be able to watch someone else in your family murder someone else in your family.
Mm-hmm.
So there wouldn't be bystanders to a murder that are also police officers. There wouldn't be bystanders to a murder at all. But especially when it's all multiple people who are all armed and taught how to de-escalate a situation.
And
You must not see me as human.
And that goes
you must
back
not
to
ever.
No, and that goes back to the history, because like when you mentioned the bystander aspect, we talked about this, and I mentioned this in the last interview. Lynchings were an event. Lynchings were on postcards.
On postcards.
People would show up. people would take pictures. This was a time where we didn't have
Bring their kids
smartphones.
with little
So
popsicles.
to take a picture, that was a big deal. And people actually took pictures of lynchings, invited their family, sent them out as postcards. Now we videotape these modern day lynchings. And hopefully, it will get people, like you said, shook up like a California earthquake to recognize this is not fucking cool. Excuse my language, I'm sorry. But
No,
yeah,
excuse me.
but you know, the thing that like I get from you, Vogue, and like connecting all this together with like, and to like wrap this up too, because I know Instagram will kick us off, but it's okay. There is another thing
Sanctioned by the state
to kind of like bring this all together, right? We're talking about the history. We're talking about being seen as human. We're talking about the fact that we matter too, and it sucks that we have to say that, but we need to continually say that, right? But you said something that really just resonated with my spirit and just connects with this whole story with your grandmother, the grief, our ancestors. And I think it's just so fitting for you to honor your grandmother today, a Black educated woman who loved you, cared about you, was there for you, poured into you, grew up in a time where she went through worse shit than we're dealing with even right now. Right. And we come from that bloodline. All of us do. And so I just really would like for you to speak on, how do you feel like your grandmother's legacy is living still through you? And how can we encourage people who are listening right now to think about the people they're connected to and how that can empower them to still live on as well?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like, grandma was born in like 1921. So right after the Great Depression. And like scholarships weren't even a thing yet. You know, they were just starting a lot of the welfare programs. And so she was sitting on the floor, 18, 19, drawing. And like a woman who worked for the welfare department saw her what she was drawing, and she was like, how old is this girl? She needs to be in school. She needs to be in college. Why isn't she in college? And then, like, you know, her mom looked around and was like, do we look like we have college shmoney? We don't. We don't got that college money. So no, she's not going to college. So they said, well, let's try it out. So they basically put my grandma on a probationary period where she went the first year of college. And if she did well the first year, then they would fund her for the next few years for her to get her education. So that was step one, was education. Education it's always been a big thing with my grandmother. So it was like, okay, get education, be educated in something you love. And for her, it was art. Then she decided she wanted to continue giving back. She wanted to be an art educator. So she got her master's in art education. Wow. She worked for the IRS. She worked for multiple schools. She worked for Fisk University at the same time that, well, this poem is on my wall, at the same time that Robert Hayden worked at Fisk. So like, she was like, oh yeah, I knew Robert Hayden. He was nice. I was like, what the fuck? So if education is your route, and then giving back and teaching others, then that's the route that you can take. If art is your route, and that's the realm, and that's the way that you can give back and teach others, then take that direction. But she also owned property, and she owned property in Pasadena. She owned property in Paris, California. She owned property in multiple locations. When she passed, what we did, because I owned, my husband and I, we bought our house, so we handled that. But with the money that we did have that was left from my grandmother's estate, we put it on my sister's house, and my sister just closed escrow 4 days ago. And so now both of my grandmother's children that she raised own their own houses.
Yes. Well,
if you look into the history of this country and whether or not Black people are allowed to own property, how long it took, where we were allowed to live, it's like next level that my sister and both, still in our 30s, have mortgages. I mean, and there's some things about that that's low key, like, not cool about this country and how we lend things out. But home ownership is a way to build equity and to build wealth and to pass something down to your family. Sometimes it's just about loving on your family. And even the things that I do with my nieces, sometimes that's all I have enough energy to do.
That's all you can
is
do.
To give them a childhood that feels free.
Yes.
And some days that's my ministry. That's the way that I'm fighting, that my nieces are going to walk around and feel like no, I belong here. To be able to walk in a room and always feel like you belong there. Like, oh, now what is this black girl doing in here with her natural hair? Like, no, you don't have questions about me. I woke up like this and I belong in this room. I'm
Right.
allowed to take up space. My opinion matters. My grief matters. My joy matters. I am present. And my nieces fill a room. They hella loud. They black and they
Mhm.
Nigerian. And they're loud.
Yes,
You
I
can
love.
connect those things or disconnect those things, but either loud ass family. And
Yes.
I love it. They are be so present in their bodies because at a certain point we end up educating black children about racism in this country and it dims their light, having to explain to them
Yeah.
how they're perceived versus who they are. And
Amen.
so I
Yeah.
feel like love on somebody and tell them you know who they are and accept that and acknowledge that. And then just tell the truth in the streets.
Yes.
Somebody is doing a flash mob for, and that's going to be their form of protest. It's a flash mob somewhere, and they're about to just probably dance to "This Is America" and some Solange and some something else and some something else. Like there are multiple ways, but if you can't be in the streets, if your body is compromised in any way, or you have a certain amount of just fear because we're black and we're in America and it don't take much, drop a wallet and somebody might murder you. There are other people who can do the work directly on the front lines, but there are places and ways that you can handle business and show that this is not okay. I want people to say this is not okay. Murdering people, murdering black people is wrong. Why is there still police brutality? Why are people still being murdered? Why are black people still being murdered and they are unarmed?
Hmm.
And back in the day, it's like Emmett Till's mother allowed for her son's casket to be open so they could see what they did to her baby.
Yeah.
And that was enough to shock yes voting. Thank you, Ryan. It was enough to kind of shock the country as well and as well as the other movements that were happening
Right.
simultaneously and the boycotts and everyone else who had been speaking out and the people who were voting, the people who were organizing, people conversation with racist white people they don't really want to talk to, but they were like, no, we need this, we need this, we need this. Still having the conversations that they didn't really want to have so that change could be made. But
Hmm.
now we're inundated. There's so much information and there's so many murders that have been recorded and everyone can see it, and I feel like it's really heavy for many of us, and for those of us who are not people of color that are not black, I don't know whether or not you need to see that to prove to yourself that this country is racist and it needs to stop. But if you don't think that privilege exists and if you don't think that these things are true, then you need to sit and watch one of the videos. Like that video is for you. Go ahead and watch
Hmm.
it and be uncomfortable and ask all the questions that do not have answers
Yep.
and then decide what you're going to do.
Yep. And do your history too. Do your homework around Watch Birth of a Nation. Okay. Look up
First
100
film.
Years of
How about the
Lynching.
first film? It's the first film. Birth of a
Viewed in the
Nation.
White House. Viewed in the White House. Okay. So look it up. Do that. No, everything you're saying. And see, this is why I call you Vogue Get Your Life. We're going to tag that as a show. There's Ayanla Fix Your Life. Vogue will help you get your life, get your motivation, get your healing, get
Oh, yeah.
your everything that you need to get on track about what is going on. And I'm just super, super appreciative of just who you are as an overall just being in force. Like the fact that you literally are like that living witness and testimony to what happens to a person when the unconditional love and consistent support of another being pours into a person. Because you are that reflection of your grandmother in this moment. And even though,
Yeah.
like, she is not here in the physical sense, she is still with you in an emotional and spiritual sense. And you now are passing that on to your nieces and future, offspring that may come.
Right.
So,
It's
you
loud.
know, you know,
It's lit.
so and I feel like that's what you're creating, and that's what we all can create because those before us sacrificed and did what they could. So we could even sit here right now and have this conversation, because back in 1821, we could have been on a plantation somewhere, girl, trying to scribble down, figure out the alphabet, trying to read, like all of that.
Right. Because they didn't want us to
They did
read.
not let Black people read. They did not let Black people read. That's what I always be promoting books, y'all. What book can we read?
I was like,
oh, okay. With that being said, so we can okay, so let's go ahead and let's acknowledge your work. So if you want to, first of all, if you want, you don't, not if you want to, you need to. You need to right now. That's what you need in your life, okay? Because you need to get your life. You need to go follow
Get
Vogue.
your life.
So follow her right now on Vogue 316. She's on the Instagram cracker. She's on the Book of Faces. She's going to go ahead and promote some of her work. I have one of her books because I love her.
I was like, oh, look, I have one too, because it's my book.
But let people know where else they can find your work and where else you can post.
Absolutely. I lied. So I'm taking back 2 seconds, because Ryan, my friend Ryan, typed in there, vote locally. Nevada ballots are due June 9th.
Yes.
So they've been trying to fight voting by mail. So you might have to be out in these streets, which is ridiculous. President. So vote locally. So if you don't know what your first small steps are, look into, who are the judges, and just check out that and think about how you want to vote for the judges in your town if you need a local act to do, and you want to start somewhere. Doing your research and having conversations with people about voting and being educated, because voter education, I feel like we need to learn how to centralize that, but it's one part. Anyways, voting is the hardest thing for me, stressing me out. Anyways, this is my book, Vogue 316, because that's my birthday, March 16th. Send me cookies and shit. But it's also my testimony, the testimony according to Vogue. And you can just go to vogue316.com, and that's where you find the book, and you can purchase it directly from me. So that means that I will sign it, say nice things to you, put a sticker in that bitch, put some chapstick on it. If you want one of my kisses, I do chapstick kisses. You know what it is. I got some lipstick too somewhere.
You know what it is.
But vogue316.com. So literally my first name, my birthday.com. Holler at the website. We made it pretty. My friend made it pretty. And the poem I read today, I'll post it on my Instagram after this. But it's published in an anthology of Nevada writers called A Change Is Gonna Come.
Yes.
And this was the first year that they actually put poetry in this book. Normally they do essays and stories, but this year they put my work and a lot of other great poets in Nevada. Their work is in here too. And I think this is on, I feel like Goodreads has a link, but I think mostly you get it on Amazon, because it was published in state too. So it was published in Nevada.
Okay.
So my work lives there. And then also my work lives in so many places. I feel like a hoe. I just be out here.
Want me to run in the streets? No, you good though.
Okay, so my work is here. This is Sandstone and Silver, and it's also a Nevada anthology. So it has a lot of brilliant poets in this book as well, and it's mostly writers who are also giving back to the community. So our current poet laureate, Heather Lang, curated this book and made sure that she hit up poets who were like, do you run an open mic? Are you teaching classes? Are you doing XYZ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Dope. Can you put your work in here? Because I want to make sure that you're being shouted out as well. And I think a lot of times community organizers get burned out. And it's not for lack of people appreciating them, but for lack of rest, or lack of taking the time to acknowledge that they are great too. So this book is one of those books that acknowledges the work that people do in their community to make it better. It's the, make it a better place. All them things.
And shout out Jolioli.
I know, Joel's so funny.
He also has mentioned that Vogue has been recognized nationally at the Library of Congress. So her work is being celebrated, recognized, and remembered throughout our entire nation. And now it's being shared with you all. And this has been such a dope conversation. And I wish we could just continue it, but we will continue it. We're going to continue.
We shall.
We should. What are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow at 7?
I don't know. Asking me on date. I asked my husband, can I go on a date with Ayasha on the Instagram cracker? She's doing 2 weeks. Yes, Tiffany, make it plain.
But yes, guys, make sure you follow and support Vogue. And also, too, giving her thanks and appreciation for joining us on the Listen for a Change platform. If you hadn't had a chance to share the Listen for a Change platform with your family and friends, or if this is your first time logging in, go ahead and make sure you follow us as well. If you yourself, if you are
Tell a
sitting
story.
there right now and you've been inspired today, if you've been connected in some way, and there's something
Janice,
you want
tell
to
a
share.
story, son.
Because, like what Langston Hughes said, the prerequisite for writing is having something to say. Well, I would follow up and say, living your life means you have a story to tell. So we all have stories.
Nope.
And
say it again. Living
Langston,
your life.
living your life means you have a story to tell. And so
Ooh.
these stories connect us, they celebrate us, and they allow us to see each other for who we are. So if you or anybody else would like to share a story or connect with us, reach out to us through our website, Listen for a Change. You can hit us up in the DM, all the good stuff. We're going to continue to keep doing this. I love it. I love you, Vogue.
I love you.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing. So yes. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Just like listen for a change. Like holler at them, let them know that you have a story that you want to tell. And I told my story pretty chill and direct and simple. And we minimize ourselves. Don't shrink. Where you going? You exist. You are alive and brilliant in this world. So ain't no point of shrinking. Tell your story. Talk about how you connect to others. Talk about how you are living in this world. Because right now it's tough to be living. And if you're doing it, then your life could inspire somebody else to move forward and to not just live in fear and be silent, but to speak up in their own way.
Yes. Yeah, because we better be living, because we ain't going to be existing, and we for sure ain't about to die. We here. So there we go. I love you, Vogue. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in. Make sure you follow Vogue, follow Listen for a Change. We'll be back, I believe, next Wednesday with Jimmy. He will be hosting, and he will be bringing his guest, and we're going to keep this going. So stay tuned. We love all you guys. Stay safe out there, and let's just keep moving forward.
Take care of yourself. Tell the truth.